All right, it's 5 o'clock on a Monday of the National Championship in college football. It's Joe Murray, Dan Livshatz. It's the Over Under podcast, and we're doing a mini podcast breaking down the game tonight. We didn't get a chance to do it on Saturday. We figured we'd do it right at 5 o'clock, so we'll get everyone ramped up on Twitter and on YouTube right now, where you can watch this. It will save to our Twitter accounts as well. And I have a pick on both sides, man, on the side total, and I got a couple of props for you and maybe some NFL players to watch in this game as well. Short and sweet. But I think, all right, so when it comes to like previous game, I think Georgia has the momentum. And I think that's why they're favored. And I also believe that they have been truly the best team all season long and have a really special defense. But if I'm going to sum this game up real short and sweet, there are some holes in Alabama, like their offensive line. They have injuries. They're going to be without, Michi finally for an important game. This game's all about Stetson Bennett, man. He bounced back against Michigan. That's a good defense. Say what you want about Michigan. It's a good defense. But Stetson Bennett's the guy I've been hard on. I don't believe in a walk-on quarterback just being the star of your team. He's been here before. He's good. This is all about Stetson. This is the Stetson Bennett show, and it's the defense. And if the defense can play well and Bennett can do the job, I think Georgia can absolutely win this game. Before I give my pick, though, there is a real matchup issue between Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. Like, there is this winning streak that, Saban has been on, and Kirby Smart hasn't been able to knock it off. So the long and short of it, I do think momentum is on Georgia's side here. But the line dictates that Alabama's an underdog. And I don't know where you stand on it, but I do think the momentum's Georgia. But it does come down to Stetson Bennett and the Georgia defense for me.
Okay, so here's how I look at this game. All week, I've pretty much been in the thought process of, okay, look, the returning team almost always wins when they win the first time. 60% of the time, the national champion or the national championship game, when the teams that played each other, the team that won the first time wins the second time. So I do think that there is something to that, and I'm going to qualify it by saying that is my one concern in this game. However, a couple weeks ago, Georgia was -6.5, -7 against Alabama. Alabama played their best game of the season, coming off their worst game of the season probably, or second worst game of the season in the Iron Bowl. They clearly were looking ahead in that spot. They clearly had been prepping for a few weeks. My belief is that Alabama played the best game that they're going to play all season that game. They had John Mechie in the first half and, somewhat of the second half. I don't actually remember when he got hurt that game, so I don't want to misquote and say something I'm incorrect about. But at least for the first half of that game, he was a major part of that game plan.
Yep.
Okay, you now have a corner hurt, your offensive line banged up, no John Mechie. We've heard some stuff about the running back Robinson. He finally feels like he might be healthy. However, there's some rumors floating around that he's not 100% yet, which I can also, see. The Alabama team is banged up. And meanwhile, Georgia has gotten healthier and healthier. Pickens is going to play. I know his reception prop is 2.5, but I think he'll probably be a bigger influence on that game than that line. I honestly look at this game and say, well, if you liked Georgia a couple weeks ago, which we both liked Alabama in that spot, then you should absolutely love Georgia again, and that game should not change your opinion. If you liked Alabama a couple weeks ago at +7, should you like Georgia -2.5, -3? Here's what I'm going to say. I like Georgia. I have felt for a while that Alabama was the right side, but when you actually look into the game and dig into everything, Joe, I do think that Georgia's the right side. They've been the best team all year. They were a favorite the first time. They lost in that game, And now they're still the favorite again. The books are clearly going to need Georgia tonight, which is not a surprise. Especially when Bama getting points, Nick Saban against Kirby Smart, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of angles tonight. I do think that, this is not just a fade the public play, but I do think that Georgia's the right side for multiple reasons. If you like Georgia the first time, the first game should not change your opinion enough to go, if you want to lay points with Georgia and now you want to take 3 points with Bama, that doesn't make any sense. So if you like Georgia the first time, you should be consistent and take Georgia the second time. We liked Alabama the first time. I think both of us did. We were both on Bama. I am going to Bama at 7. I think I would take here again. Okay, I think in the same situation, I would take that play again at 3 points or 2.5. I'm laying it with Georgia. Give me Georgia minus 2.5 in this game. I here's the thing. I personally have futures. The only 2 futures I played this season were Bama and Georgia. I thought they were 2 best teams. I thought it was very clear. There was really the 2 futures I have. So I'm not really going to be super invested in the side tonight. However, I'm going to PP Georgia minus 2.5, minus 110, because I believe that even though I'm going to say this, I'm not going to play it as big as I usually do because of the fact that I already have the futures. This would be a normal size, if not large play for me on the side. Joe, that's my feeling on Georgia. They're healthier than they've ever been. I do agree with the Stetson Bennett stuff, but Bennett doesn't need to be something special. He just needs to be a good game manager and not turn the ball over.
I agree. And you made a couple of points. Josh Joby's out. Jalen Davis or whatever, he got hurt. He hurt his hip. But this dude, Brock Bowers, man, from Georgia, he's going to be a problem. And I think, say what you want about Cincinnati, but they did like attack Alabama's defense at times with what they could do. You know what I mean? So, and then again, I want to give Bennett the credit that he did going up against a good defense. Like they held Hutchinson in check, and it's probably what they're going to have to do here. I mean, Will Anderson and Christian Harris, like, these guys are good. Like Georgia didn't have a sack in the first meeting. Like they didn't have a sack. Like there's all these guys that I'm going to mention to you in a little bit about who are going to the draft this year, like didn't play well in the first meeting. But the one thing that I do want to look at is Georgia needs to run the football better. Like they could not run the football in that first meeting. He had 112 receiving yards against Michigan. That was out of the backfield. We know what Brian Robinson can do. You mentioned some of the issues that could be hammering him. Like really when it comes down to it, like this kid Bowers could be the difference for Georgia tonight. I hear what you're saying about Georgia. Like I've been trying to make the case for Georgia all week. I still can't get past Stetson Bennett, but I do think he doesn't have to play great. I think the defense of Georgia has to play great to win this game. That's what I think. I also just think that maybe Georgia did get its groove back a little bit. They're going up against the Heisman Trophy winner, which is always something in these big games. And I'm just looking at the history of these teams, right? Just, Alabama's won 7 straight. That's going back to 2008. This is the 5th straight top 5 matchup between these two programs. Against the spread this year, Georgia went 9-5. Alabama went 8-6. But Georgia, when they covered more games, they went 5-1 against spreads that were around, whatever, a couple of touchdowns or whatever it was. And the underdog has covered in these meetings the last 7 games. Whenever I see Alabama as an underdog, for me, it's really hard to go against that. Let's flip side it and look at the total. In 2008, Alabama, Georgia was 41-30. Georgia was a 7-point favorite. In 2012, Alabama won 32-28. Alabama was 7.5. Now that number 2.5, Dan, Alabama won in 15, 38-10 with Georgia as a favorite. When Alabama was 3.5, they won 26-23, didn't cover. In 2018, they win 35-28, last year 41-24, and then this past previous game 41-24. All those games indicate the over. So when I look at the total tonight, man, like I kind of lean under 52. I just think the defense has to be better for Georgia tonight. I think they're going to stay in it. If I'm choosing a side, it's Alabama only for the sake that they're an underdog. So it's 3.5 right now. I can still see a 3-point win by Georgia. I'm not going to PP it and make it my lock. My side is Alabama. I just think it's going to be a low scoring game. So if you like Georgia, I think you take the under. Alabama wins. Maybe there's more points in this game. But if I'm looking at a side to total, I lean Alabama with 3.5. I go under 52.5.
Are you PPing anything?
We might as well do the over if you gave Georgia. I mean the under if you gave Georgia out.
So yeah, total right now, Joe, is 53.
53 under. All right.
53. Yeah. So look, I'm right there with you, and that's going to be my bet as well tonight. So why don't we double it down? I'm going to be on the under with you as well. I think this is going to be a defensive game. I think you're going to see Georgia's defense play far better. The other part of the game that we didn't discuss, which you did mention, is last time these two teams met, Alabama's offensive line, who has had struggles all season long, played their best game by far. I expect Jordan Davis and that Georgia defensive line to play far better tonight. It's not going to be the same offensive line for Alabama. They're banged up. They have some injuries on that offensive line. It's not going to be the same consistency. It's not going to be the same team tonight. And I do think that people are not recognizing the degree to which Alabama is banged up. I mean, look, to be perfectly honest with you, Josh Jobe is a big part of that, of those, of that secondary. He's a big part of that. So the fact that they're not going to have Jobe, they're not going to have Mechie, this is going to be a big issue. Now, I do agree that Georgia has to run the football. And to do that, you got to stop Will Anderson. You got to stop Evan Neal. You got to stop these guys, who are going to be big-time players on that, sorry, not Evan Neal. You got to stop the big-time guys on Alabama's defensive line. But the fact is that secondary is going to be – sorry, I meant Christian Harris. He's going to end up playing the Mike linebacker position. Now I got confused with Evan Neal for whatever reason. But I do think that this is going to be a big part of, what Georgia does tonight. They need to be aggressive. They need to do exactly what they did to Michigan. Stop the run, stop Robinson, and make Bryce Young throw the football. Because I got to tell you, I don't feel super confident about Bryce Young throwing the football in this situation all night. Now, look, Young is going to be the Heisman player, the Heisman Trophy winner. He was very, very good against Georgia last time. To me, again, an elite defense in this situation, I think you got to grow with the defense. Defense travels. You got to expect similar results from the defense. I just think that, defensively, Georgia is going to be the right side. I certainly understand the concern, the coaching matchup, the head-to-head last game. I get it. But I thought Georgia played maybe its worst game of the season that game, and I thought Alabama played its best. And I don't think that we're going to see the same result tonight. And I do think that Alabama is going to have trouble moving the football without John Mechie. I think that is going to, be a major hit to them. If Mechie's playing in this game, I think you have to take a look at the Alabama defense offense completely differently than you do than without him.
That's why I lean the under.
Yeah,
I just think that it's going to be a slugfest. Like, I really liked what Georgia did against Hutchinson, but Will Anderson of Alabama, like, if they can do the same thing to him, they're gonna run the ball. Like, they're gonna run the football. Bryce Young's gonna have to be Bryce Young, and he's gonna have to play an amazing game. Like, I think he's gonna have to kind of win it on his own. I do, unless Robinson's right. And then the other thing too is, I have this hunch, Dan, that if Stetson Bennett struggles at all, does Kirby Smart make the move to JT Daniels? I'm just throwing it out there because it was something discussed with Tua years ago, and it was against Georgia, and he pulled the trigger, and it was the right thing to do. Georgia's too good to let Stetson Bennett fail. And I don't know, Dan. I just feel like if that happens, I really would like Georgia in that spot. Like, I just feel like there's this. They're ready. They know how to handle Stetson Bennett. Like, they know how to handle this kid. And I think Daniel's the better player. And it's like a back pocket. Oh shit! It's getting out of hand. Alabama's because they're Alabama's front runners, man. They play to a lead, dude. And Georgia's a front runner too. They play to a lead. Let their defense take over. I know Bryce Young can come back. I don't know if Stetson Bennett can.
Yeah, I think you're being a little tough on Stetson Bennett.
You know what it is? I'm taking all the angles. I'm like, all right, what's everybody waiting for this week? And I guarantee there's a JT Daniels package waiting somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement, but I do think that you're being a little tough on Stetson Bennett. He was really good last time. When he threw the ball downfield. When he tried to be too precise and make too many quick decisions, he was bad. And I thought Bennett was far better against Michigan, and I expect a similar performance. I don't expect Bryce Young to throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns tonight. I think that's a really tough, a really tough request. And Jameson Williams was amazing last time these two teams played. Now he's the number 1 wide receiver in this game for them, and he was more of a possession guy for Alabama more than a big play guy. You're looking at right now his reception prop tonight. It's 6.5, and his receiving yards on most places 110 to 115. I think that's a little high. I think that should probably be more around 105, 104, 103, something slightly over 100. I think that's a little high too. I think he's going to be more of a possession guy for Bama tonight. I think Slade Bolden is going to have to play a big role for them. If they really want to make up for a lot of the production that they're going to lose from Mechie. So I do think that he's going to have to be the guy. And I'm gonna say this. I'm an under props guy. I'm going to be looking tonight for Georgia to use, and in my opinion, is going to be a big guy. Is George Pickens. Pickens, was barely healthy for that Alabama game last time they played. Pickens had 2 receptions for 41 yards last time they played. Okay, he was essentially a non-factor in that prior game. I think Pickens is going to have a big role tonight. And, he's had a couple weeks here to get healthy. All right. So, he's not, he's not in nearly the same area that he was last time. Now, again, against Michigan, 1 catch for 9 yards. But I think that they're going to unleash George Pickens tonight because I think that they did not need Pickens whatsoever against Michigan. That game by far away. The fact that Michigan even scored a touchdown was, honestly a miracle for them. And they got it right in like the dying minute there. So I got to be honest with you. I think this is going to be a George Pickens game. I think they're going to unleash him tonight. And I think that that's something that Alabama's not going to really have an answer for. I do think that, Pickens was, prior to his injury, was really, outside of his attitude, was really, really hyped to be maybe a top 10, top 15 draft pick. This kid is talented, and I do think that a lot of people are forgetting about him as a potential weapon. Look, they're going to need to get more out of Zamir White too, who was not good, against either in the games. Last time he was not good against Michigan. He was not good against Alabama. James Cook and Zamir White have to be better tonight. Have to. Georgia didn't really run the football very, very well against Michigan. The yards per carry is going to be misleading due to DeJuan Edwards and Stetson Bennett a little bit. So I think that needs to be a little bit different tonight as well. But yeah, look, again, just going through the game, I think to me, very clearly, it's Georgia in an under game to me. If you like Georgia the last time, you should not be flipping sides in this one just because the line moves. Okay. In fact, if anything, you should be taking Georgia and doubling down on that spot. That would be my suggestion, I should say.
All right, I'm on record saying that I think Bryce Young's going to have to win this game tonight for Georgia. For Alabama, he's going to have to win the game, and obviously, I think the defense for Bennett has to not turn the ball over, and Georgia has to be itself on defense. So, on a prop bet, Dan, I looked for some value. All right, so I got 130 right now is what I see that. But it's Bryce Young over 2.5 touchdowns. Now, I'm already on the under. So this is risky. But I looked into this a little bit. So Bryce Young threw 46 touchdowns this year. he only threw fewer than 3 touchdowns in 4 of 14 games. So in 10 games this year, he threw over 2.5 touchdowns, and that includes the 3 against Georgia in the SEC title game. So I'm going Bryce Young over 2.5 touchdowns plus 130. Now, the other side of it is Stetson Bennett's yards total is, I think, 250 right now. And it's minus 110. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against Michigan. I want to take a shot on the under at minus 110 here. So this is me being consistent. I'm going under 250 for Stetson Bennett and over 2.5 touchdowns. Bryce Young, you can PP him if you want.
Okay. So
And the one with what's it called? The over 2.5 Bryce Young. I'm nervous because of the total. And it's plus, that's why it's plus money for a reason. But I feel pretty good about Stetson Bennett.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, okay. So you're on the under on Bennett and on the over on Bryce Young.
2.5. So essentially for 3 touchdowns. Now, I don't know if that indicates passing at all, but the numbers that I looked up were passing. So over 2, right here, I see 2.5 touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for Bennett right now, it is 2.5. That is correct.
Yeah. Well, what do you see Bennett at? I see 250.
Oh, sorry, for Young, 2.5 right now. Is 2 touchdowns is correct. Right now the over is plus 120 for.
Okay, I got ahead of 130, so 120 then. Okay.
Yeah, 120. I think 120 is a fair price in the market right now. Right now for Bennett, the under 1.5 is plus, is plus 150. So I mean that, I'm not seeing any 2.5s on Bennett. I haven't seen anything like that. But I am seeing under 1.5 if that's the direction that you want to go there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go yards under 250.
Under 250 yards. Okay. All right. Cool. So there you go. So there's some props. I gave you my prop thoughts as well. I would probably be taking mostly unders this game. I would not be taking overs. I do not agree with Joe on the Bryce Young touchdowns. I do not think that Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, if anything, will probably have 2 touchdowns, but we'll see. Those are our thoughts tonight, Joe. Anything else? Do you have any quick thoughts on the game last night, quickly? Because that was a very controversial game. Do you have any thoughts on the game last night? I guess
it was in Vegas, Dan. Clay Blakeman was the official. There were so many things on the line. I mean, Dan, I'm a huge wrestling fan. That had WWE written all over it, bro. I will say this, though. I will never forget the performance that Justin Herbert put on last night. It was unbelievable. And if he can just springboard that into like the Chargers are like legit talk, I mean, he's the guy. And just look what the Dolphins did. They fired their coach today because they took Tua over Herbert. And I don't know, is that a fireable offense the next day after a Herbert performance like that?
I don't know.
The Herbert performance was outstanding. And Derek Carr threw a pass on a 3rd down, dude, to the sideline on that game-winning drive. I don't know if other people can throw that ball. So, like, I know Carr's what he is. But, man, did he throw a hell of a pass, too. Those are 2 young QBs. It was a hell of a game last night, dude. And, yeah, it had it all, man. That was a wrangle. You know how we say the game's a wrangle? That was a real fucking wrangle last night.
Yep, it was. I fought all night with people who, for whatever reason, don't think the timeout mattered. I think you're absolutely fucking insane.
Did you read the lips of players on both sides? They were half-assing it. There was like a preseason game at some points during that final draft.
I think you're absolutely fucking insane. I think you're mental if you think that timeout didn't change anything. Derek Carr basically admitted to it, and then obviously right afterwards had to go back into his political speak, and people are reading that and believing what he said the second part, which is just asinine because anyone who knows football players, just athletes in general, when they say something they're not supposed to, they absolutely double back and they make sure they don't do it. It's a classic Patriots thing. You say something you're not supposed to, and all of a sudden you got to go right back to team talk and team speak. So I mean, it's insane that people don't understand this. The Raiders were clearly going to run the ball out of shotgun formation, or we're going to have Carr take a kneel out of shotgun. Yes, that has happened plenty of times before. If you remember the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, they actually ran a shotgun play that that he kneeled down, which was, by the way, I think it's insane, but people do it. I'm not saying it's a smart thing to do, but yeah, I thought that people who don't think that timeout altered the game last night, absolutely insane. I have no idea. I have no idea what the fuck you're watching.
No, it's kind of like, hey, all right, well, you guys are on the side, like we're on the okay, like let's see what happens here, and hey, if you guys don't call it, we'll play it right. And then they call timeout, and it's like, well, fuck these guys, right? Like I thought we were kind of like, that's the way I looked at it.
That's the way I looked at it as well. I think, and I thought it was very clear, but.
Yeah, and whatever. Everyone, it's like The Sopranos. However you want to think it ended.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I think it's crazy, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Absolutely, that's what this is all about, right? I did want to just throw out a couple of guys to watch tonight. When it comes to the draft or just players in general, if you want to watch them, you know how high I am on Jordan Davis. This guy's 6'6", 340. He plays like he's 400 pounds. He's unbelievable. And I just also want to mention that Nakobe Dean that plays behind him, the linebacker, I think he's going to be a legit pro. That's just on the Georgia side. And then they have a guy named Trayvon Walker. If you've watched him, he's number 44 tonight. He's your typical out wide, 6'5", 275 defensive end. Their defense is like going to be an all-timer if you watch them. And then just at Alabama, Jamison Williams, dude. We always talk about this class of wide receivers that Alabama's put out over the years. The kid Williams is going to be on display today. He's fast. He's a deep threat. He's 6'2", big dude. And then there's a big old tackle at Alabama, Evan Neal. He's probably going to be like a top 5 pick this year. And then just one last dude. Alabama has a safety named Jordan Battle. And I think that he's going to be one of these like second, third round picks that could start as a safety, maybe late in his first year. So defense is kind of the name, but this kid Williams for Alabama, I think could be the if it's not Robinson, I think Williams is going to have the big day on offense for Alabama.
Don't forget Will Anderson too.
Yeah.
He's not eligible for the draft this year, but next year I think he's probably going to be the top defensive end.
And in the breakdown I mentioned, I don't want to compare him to Hutchinson, but if Georgia can eliminate him,
I don't think he's as good as Hutchinson. This season. Yeah, but I think as a pro prospect, he might actually be better. I don't think the draft is great this year, so we'll see.
Nope. And if Georgia can run the football today, they're gonna be in business.
Yep, I agree with that.
But just remember, I want to I'm throwing it out there because I will never forget it. When Tua came in, dude, I remember here we go. The Alabama's gonna come back and win. They did. I'm just Dan, for your sake, if we see JT Daniels today, I think it's a good thing for Georgia.
Okay. All right.
That's all I got.
Joe. That's all we got. Good luck to everyone tonight. Hope you guys win your bets, whether you're on the Alabama side, whether you're on the Georgia side, whatever you got, whether you're on the over or the under. I hope everyone does well tonight. And it should be a good night. It should be a good night of good night football.
Final college football of the year. It's the appetizer before the playoffs. And once again, this has been another edition of an emergency podcast, national title game podcast. I'm Joe Murray. He's Dan Lifshatz.
Who you got? Good luck tonight, guys.